Hello and welcome. I'm Chesley McNeil, and this is The Take, where we go above and beyond the headlines and we look at the why and how stories are impacting you and your community. We invite the experts in to share their take on today's top stories as well. We try to have a little bit of fun as well. President Trump late last night signing off on the Republican-backed spending package, which officially reopens the federal government. The deal restores jobs and pay for impacted workers and reopens federal offices, parks, and museums. It also extends funding for those who use food assistance programs like SNAP and WIC. At the airports, TSA and FAA operations will be stabilized, and the bill also puts back money for short-term disaster relief. One of the things that the deal doesn't account for is extending an enhanced tax credit, which expires at the end of the year. That'll lower costs for health coverage obtained through the Affordable Care Act marketplaces. The deal only extends funding for the federal government for the next 11 weeks through January 30th. And as last night's votes were cast, the lines were drawn for the next battle.
The Democrats created it. The Democrats broke it. The Democrats are driving your cost up. Who are you going to trust to fix health care? It's the Republican Party, because we have volumes of ideas on how to do this, on how to fix it, on how to drive costs down, and how to increase access to care and quality of care, and you're going to see all that vigorous debate.
Either Republicans finally decide to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits this year, or the American people will throw Republicans out of their jobs next year and end the speakership of Donald J. Trump once and for all.
All right, let's look at where we stand now with John Hatton. He's the Staff Vice President of Policy and Programs for the National Active and Retired Federal Workers Association. John, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me.
All right, after 43 days, what's the first thing federal workers and retirees should know about the government now that it's reopened?
Well, they'll certainly be wondering when their next paycheck and back pay is going to be provided, and the government's going to try to do that as quickly as possible, but it may not be today. Should be over the course of the next week, and it differs by agency when people will get that back pay restored. Looking like Sunday for Department of Defense, people at Robins Air Force Base, or Health and Human Services as well. CDC employees are under that department.
And they should be looking for full pay, right?
Yeah, full back pay back to October 1st. It may only, the first back paycheck may only cover the first month. And then it'll start to cover the pay periods into November of the next paycheck. So we're still parsing out the exact dates that people will get paid through the first paycheck and back pay, but it'll be a significant sum of money.
John, are you surprised it took this long?
Yes and no. I think certainly there were a lot of bipartisan negotiations going on for a long time, and then they finally started to pick up. I think with the November 1st date for the Affordable Care Act premium open season coming into effect, you thought that was probably the date where you started to see some of those discussions kick up. You had the elections in Virginia, New Jersey, Georgia had some elections as well, that I think were critical to kind of just getting past those. And it took a little bit of time once people started talking, but I think a deal came together. So it didn't take that long once they finally got into a room and started having a discussion. But it did take a long time to get to that point.
Yeah, think about those that have been affected. 43 days in the shutdown. What does that do for workforce morale?
It's not good. Certainly people have been working without pay if they're accepted. There's people who are going to have to go back to a stack of work as furloughed employees. That's just a waste of taxpayer money to having people be sitting on the sidelines. It's going to delay the regular operations of government. Yeah, those things weren't necessary or emergencies to protect life or property, but there are still things that you need to do in the background to keep the wheels turning.
Absolutely. Are there any groups that will fall through the cracks with this?
No, there is specific language. There had been some dispute with the administration challenging previous law on providing back pay. There was language clarifying that there's funds available to provide that back pay and that it shall be paid. So anybody who's furloughed, the language is very clear that they're getting back pay. The administration came out with guidance agreeing with that interpretation, which was abundantly clear. There's also some rollbacks of the reductions in force or the layoffs that were initiated in response to the shutdown. So these weren't because of efficiency of government operations. These were to take advantage of this lapse in appropriations and say, well, Congress isn't telling us we need to carry out these programs, so we're going to start laying people off in programs that we don't prioritize. Those are rolled back in the deal and prohibited through January 30th.
What are smart steps that folks need to take once the pay arrives? And should folks be thinking about the next battle that's coming up?
Yeah, I think we haven't finished the battle here. They did take a mini step through a mini bus spending bill that had full year appropriations for three kind of categories of agencies: agriculture, rural development, and FDA, military, construction, and veterans affairs, and the legislative branch. There's still a lot to go, namely defense and labor, health and human services are kind of the big ones that will get you a lot further. The Senate Appropriations Chair, Susan Collins, has indicated they're trying to go ahead with a new package of bills in the Senate. They have been working on a bipartisan basis in the Senate on those appropriations bills. Hopefully they get that another tranche of those full year bills done before January 30th, and what's remaining in dispute hopefully is less than what is in dispute right now.
Got it. All right, John Hatton, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
All right, take care. All right, folks, at least it's going to be a nice day around the forecast area. We're looking at plenty of sunshine, and we'll hold on to it right on through the weekend, the upcoming weekend, as temperatures continue to rise. 68 degrees will be the afternoon high temperature for today. We'll hit those 70s tomorrow, and we don't look back. 72 for your high on Friday afternoon. We'll be at 74 on Saturday under mostly sunny skies. Sunday, a few clouds will roll into the area, but we'll hit 75 for the high. We'll call it partly sunny skies. There keeps being a small hint for an isolated shower, but I don't think we'll see anything at all. Our next best chance for it, and I say best, that's shaky at best. You're looking at a 20% chance by Tuesday. In fact, the moisture sticks around really through the week, so you're looking at partly sunny skies Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but the temperatures will still hang out in the 70s, folks, above our average for this time of year. We should be around 65 degrees, so we'll enjoy the 70s as much as we can for the rest of the week. All right, you're watching The Take, folks. Don't go anywhere. We're back right after this. All right, time to bring in NBC's Alice Barr from Washington, D.C. And Alice, the government is back open, but now the real fighting is about to come up over the ACA subsidies. We heard from Speaker Johnson and Democratic leader Jeffries over drawing those battle lines. Take us through the next steps in this argument.
Yes, so you're right to note that the Affordable Care Act subsidies that are expiring at the end of the year, they have been central to this entire shutdown fight. It's what Democrats held out for 43 days before that deal hatched among moderates in the Senate that got us to this point. So Republicans are saying that now that the government is reopened, they are ready to have those negotiations about what to do to lower health care costs, because both parties agree that health care costs have gotten out of control. Democrats think the way to fix it, at least in the short term, is to extend these subsidies before they expire at the end of the year, sending premiums spiking, doubling, tripling in some cases for people who are on Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act. Republicans have long been opposed to Obamacare, no secret there, and they have been frustrated by feeling like they're being saddled with the blame for having these spikes in premiums coming up because of a program that they never wanted to exist and that many of them just don't think that it works. So they don't want to sign on and kind of double down on Obamacare. But what's the alternative is not clear, particularly because we're so close now to this deadline. President Trump has been speaking about the idea of sending money directly to Americans, but details there are thin, and it's just not clear what can be worked out in the next 11 weeks before funding expires again.
Looking to hear more on that. All right, when President Trump signed the package last night, he accused the Democrats of extortion. Do we expect the president to be active in the upcoming health care debate?
Yeah, he's been a little bit behind the scenes up to this point, but was saying that because he kept saying, no, Democrats need to just reopen the government and then we'll talk. You have to reopen the government first. So now they have. So it does seem, according to what the president has been saying, that this would be the moment for him to step forward. And I just mentioned this, that he's been floating this idea of sending something like $2,000 direct payments to Americans, which would be paid for through dividends from tariff revenues. That's how he's framing it. And he says Americans could then take that money and go out and buy their own health care. But details are very thin, and a number of administration officials have in fact come out and said that this shouldn't be viewed as some kind of well-formed policy concept, that right now it's brainstorming and it's trying to come up with a way to kind of put the power in Americans' hands directly to decide what they want to do for their health care, rather than having the insurance companies being central and being kind of the brokers that are making all of the decisions. So if the president and his advisors can come up with a more fleshed out version of what that would look like, then I think that's where he would kind of take a little more center stage and try to propose that as an alternative and do his, making a deal kind of central mediator role.
All right, Alice, we have 11 weeks now. What's the likelihood we could see another shutdown as funding expires?
Yeah, it's entirely possible, and it is entirely dependent on how much progress is made in the intervening weeks on a solution on health care. And those insurance premiums are going to increase at the start of the year under Obamacare. So at that point, Democrats may say, we have real-world evidence here that this is hurting Americans, and may use that to wage this battle again with potentially more pressure on Republicans this time. But again, Republicans do not think that's the right avenue, so getting them to double down on something that they've never wanted is going to be a tough fight. And at the end of January, we could be back in the same position. All
right, Alice, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. All right, plenty more stories for you coming up. Caitlin Ross joins you right here on the set to talk about the telethon we just had for veterans. We'll talk about that coming up. Stay right there. Sometimes the best stories don't come from the headlines. They come from wagging tails. Yeah, Tuesday's Veterans Day telethon here on 11Alive didn't just raise money, it also was raising hope. 11Alive's Caitlin Ross was there helping to bring in those pledges and work with veterans to help pair them with four-legged friends, and you were having a ball.
I was having a ball. I had an absolute blast. We had so much fun. We were there from sun up to sundown, and we were raising money the whole time. I cannot tell you how grateful we are for the community that came together. It was amazing. Every time we would do a live hit out there, the phones would start ringing, people were sharing their stories, they were donating. And the most touching part about it, Chesley, was that we were hearing from veterans. At one point, a veteran who was in the hospital called, and he said, look, I don't have any money to give, but I want you to know that by watching this telethon, I'm seeing that I'm not alone. Mm-hmm. And that was one of the most powerful things that could happen. Veterans understanding that there's such a community of support and love out there for them. Mm-hmm. And the fact that 11Alive put this together is just incredible.
We were with you during the morning, but you were there for 15 hours.
All
right?
day, all day.
All day long. and I understand there was a moment where you got pretty emotional. Tell me about that moment.
Yes, it was incredibly emotional. Right at the end of the day, we had been there all day. We had heard so many powerful stories, and they had a graduation. Mm-hmm. And so the graduates walked across the stage. It was really impactful. But right at the end of the telethon, a woman walks in who couldn't make it to the graduation because she was at a medical appointment. Mm-hmm. And she's just been diagnosed with stomach cancer. Mm. And so she missed the graduation because she was at the hospital with her dog. And she just said, I didn't want to get emotional, but I want people to know how much this matters. I don't have any family in town. I don't have any friends in town. I am by myself. But she was able to get that news of that devastating diagnosis with her dog by her side because of Top Dog Canine Foundation. Wow. And if you think about the power in that moment, it's just incredible.
Wow. How much did you guys raise?
More than $100,000, which is amazing. So I think the last count that I saw was $109,000, but the donations are still open. So the telethon is over, but you can still give money. You can scan a QR code, you can call the number, you can go directly to Top Dog's website. We have their website and the donation linked on our website, 11alive.com/veterans, and that's how you can donate. They are really looking for corporate sponsors. So a sponsor who might want to say, I want to sponsor a dog directly, which is what Mottlick Injury Attorneys did. I thought that was so cool. So they sponsored this dog named Surge, and they get to follow Surge from when he's a puppy through his training to when he gets paired with a veteran. So they get to follow the whole process, and just think about how meaningful that is to get your whole team involved in something and see the fruits of your labor right there.
Yeah. Talk to me about how this works, right? We have this money, and then we buy the dogs. I'm saying we, like I'm a dog. Walk me through the process.
Yeah, so Top Dog Canine Foundation was founded by a veteran, Blake Rashad. He goes by Top Dog. And so he uses that money to then sponsor dogs.
Okay.
So each of these dogs gets more than 400 hours of training, more than 400 hours.
Wow.
The minimum to become a service dog is 200 hours, but he is offering between 400 and 500 hours of training. And what he does when those dogs come in is he gets them as puppies, and then he keys them specifically to a veteran. So if a veteran is struggling with mobility issues, with night terrors, with PTSD, they train that dog for that veteran. So for example, there was a veteran who uses a wheelchair and has trouble, like his keys will fall out of his pocket, and he couldn't get his keys. And so the dog that he has is trained to pick up his keys off the ground and hand them back to him. And so it's training those dogs for those specific tasks, and that's where the money goes. It's into that training, and then it's also into education, which I think is so cool, because so many veterans, they don't know when they get these service dogs, the ADA accommodations that exist for them. So legally, they are able to go into the dance recital, the movie theater, the restaurant, and he provides that education. Then they also provide the wraparound mental health services, which is what so many of our veterans struggle with, is that mental health component and feeling like they're alone or they don't have the support that they need. And that's what Top Dog gives them. It really turns into a family.
Gotcha. You got 30 seconds left here. Talk to me about what this means to you personally. Was it a story for you that got you involved?
So years ago, I met Blake at an event, and his pitch was, did you know that a service dog can cost $25,000? And it was a veterans event, and I'm looking around at these veterans, and it was for food assistance. And so if these veterans couldn't afford to put food on the table, they certainly couldn't afford $25,000 for a dog that was going to save their life. Even knowing the difference it made, it's so out of reach for so many of the brave men and women who served. And the opportunity to give them that, to give them their life back, it means more than anything.
Always a good job.
You're the best.
She does it. She does it for us all, folks. Yep. And as you mentioned, the telethon is over, but the fundraising continues, folks. You can contribute by texting the word veteran, that's veteran, to the number 404-885-7600, 404-885-7600, and you can donate right there because, I mean, they deserve it and much more. Thank you so much, Caitlin. Really appreciate it. Don't go anywhere, folks. We got plenty more for you coming up after the break. Welcome back to the show. It's not just what's in your mind, but it's where you live. A new UGA study finds that neighborhoods lacking basic resources, from safe housing to quality schools, may dramatically raise the risk of serious mental illness. The study found that people in low-resource neighborhoods face nearly 80% higher rates of psychotic disorders. Independent studies show that social deprivation and isolation significantly raise psychosis risk. To that, a 2004 study shows that improving housing, safety, and education access can directly reduce mental health disparities. Let's look into how your zip code can shape your mental health with Sydney James, the lead author of the study and a doctoral candidate at UGA's Franklin College of Arts and Sciences. Welcome to the show, Sydney.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. First, tell us what led you to explore the link between where someone lives and their mental health.
So in graduate school, I've had several classes that have talked about social determinants of health. So that's the conditions in which people exist that are shaped by macro level forces such as social norms, policies, political systems. And that's been shown to have a huge impact on our health, including mental health. And so recently there's been more research coming out on social determinants of health in psychiatry and related to schizophrenia spectrum disorders. And so I wanted to look more into this area.
The data shows 80% higher rate based on the resources that are around you. What was your reaction to that?
I wouldn't say I was very surprised, given how impactful social determinants of health are on individuals with psychosis and prior research that has debated whether psychosis is caused by these environments or whether the disorder itself causes individuals to reside in more deprived areas.
So this was a meta-analysis. What does that mean exactly in layman's terms, and how many studies did you pull together?
So a meta-analysis is essentially a numerical synthesis of past research on a subject. And it allows us to draw stronger and more robust conclusions. And we had 19 studies that were across various countries using different neighborhood deprivation indices, although there were commonalities across the indices.
When you have done this research and you're doing this research, you see it as a call to action for communities, and if so, where does that action begin?
Yes, I definitely think that like communities and really this research can inform policies and promote the use of structural interventions in more deprived areas. And so communities can do these structural interventions in order to provide and connect individuals to resources. So some structural interventions may include like community outreach events, housing voucher programs, improved public transit. And when these are used with other treatments, it may help reduce the incidence rates of psychotic disorders and symptom severity.
Sydney, I have 30 seconds left. If there was a message you want our viewers to take away from this study today, what would it be?
I guess that like it takes a village. It's not just an individual, and that like we can all do things to promote health equality and help reduce the risk of psychotic disorders.
All right, Sydney James, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, take
Have
care.
a great day.
All right, coming up, we're going to talk to our friends at the National Weather Service about what we can expect coming up weather-wise, and the Golden Hammer returns home. We'll explain right after the break. Welcome back to the show. It's a moment that brings the hammer home, literally and symbolically. Atlanta Habitat for Humanity is taking the Golden Hammer from Habitat International, officially brings hosts of next year's Jimmy and Rosalind Carter Work Project. Here to talk more about it is the Habitat for Humanity CEO, Rosalind Merrick. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. I'm so glad to be here. Good to see you.
Good to see you. How personal is this moment for you?
Oh, incredibly. I am a proud native daughter of Atlanta. And while I've worked my entire career in nonprofit, being a part of the Atlanta Habitat mission is the best work, my favorite work that I've ever done. And I identify so much with the families that we serve through our mission. So to be able to lead this important work to create more affordable home ownership, but certainly to help lift up and honor the Carter's legacy, their passion for this mission means so much to me.
Talk to us about how Atlanta got selected.
Well, it's a very competitive process. And part of what's required is an intention and a focus already on creating affordable home ownership. I mean, that is the mission of all habitats, but our strategy has shifted from being a scatter site infill home builder to really a whole community developer. And so we were really proud to launch our first ever master plan community called Browns Mill Village about 5 years ago. And we have successfully completed that. It will be home to 134 families, 100% affordable home ownership, proof that it's possible. And it's a beautiful community. And so that gave us the blueprint to create our next planned development, which we're calling Langston Park. It sits in the center of the historic Sylvan Hills neighborhood. Ultimately, we'll plan to build 64 homes there. So because we had that project in queue, because Atlanta is a wonderfully generous and engaged community, that helped us make the case for we've got plenty of good work to do to host this massive project, and please allow us to do that. Lastly, the other thing I'll say is next year marks marks the 50th anniversary for Habitat for Humanity International. So to be able to bring this project back home to the home state of the Carters would mean a lot. It does mean a lot. So I think we had all those things in our favor as we raised our hand to compete for this opportunity.
Well, you may have just mentioned that. I was going to say people may not know the Carter legacy with this with Habitat. What makes that a big deal for the Habitat world?
Well, it's so humbling to understand that we've been in the company of a former leader of the free world. To have President Carter and his wife Rosalind spend 40 years of their lives committed to this mission. They understood deeply and believed that all people deserve decent and safe housing, and that is the core of our work everywhere that we serve. So the Habitat Network is huge. There are about 1,000 affiliates that serve the U.S. and Canada, and many more global partners. And so they picked up the hammer and said, we can do our part to raise volunteers and resources to build more homes alongside families who absolutely deserve the opportunity. And so they started that back in 1984 in New York City. They came here to Atlanta in 1988 and helped us build 21 homes over in the Edgewood community that still stand to this day. So it's been an honor or privilege to be in their company, but to follow their deep work ethic of hard work, and giving back and serving well in the community.
Man, we understand that Atlanta Habitat has raised about or has an impact about $32 million on affordable housing since 2022. How does this project that you're currently working on expand that momentum?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, we are in the business of building homes. And so, again, we're going to build the first 24 homes in our Langston Park community in Sylvan Hills through the Carter Work Project next May. So really, we're actually going to build 24 homes in 1 week with the help of thousands of volunteers. It's a Herculean effort. But all of that economic activity that surrounds the process of building homes, but also really empowering the families that we're serving with this opportunity. They will be outright home buyers. We're providing a 30-year interest-free mortgage to help them to purchase their first home and own that home well over the next 30 years. And so there's a lot that we invest in that process to ensure that our homeowners are successful. But this is a all hands on deck engagement of the community to thoughtfully build those homes so they're quality, energy efficient, and stand the test of time.
All right, well, Rosalind Merrick, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate all that you're doing for our community as well.
Thank you for the opportunity.
All right, take care. Take a look. That's a live look right there at Midtown. Looking pretty good. Sun is in the sky. No clouds around. We're sitting pretty, folks. It looks nice, but boy, do we need some rain. Time to bring in Laura Bellinger. She is the senior service meteorologist at the National Weather Service in Peachtree City. Welcome to the show again.
Hi, Chesley. How are you?
Doing pretty good, pretty good. Hey, you know, everybody's loving this, especially after earlier this week we had that cold snap. Now we're starting to warm it up. But you're a hydrologist, so you can tell us the importance of why we need this rain.
We do need the rain, and it seems like this week we're trying to squeeze in all the seasons into 1 week. You mentioned the warming temperatures. We could really use the rain, though.
Yeah. The latest drought monitor came out this morning. It doesn't look like it changed much. What can you tell us about it?
Yeah, so the little bit of rain that we got over the weekend, the cooler temperatures, that's certainly helping things from getting much worse, but we're really falling behind with the amount of rainfall that we should be seeing. We're only about a third of what we should have had so far this fall. We really need to start seeing some meaningful active weather pattern in order to bring us the rainfall that we need to get to catch back up.
Yeah. Laura, what does that mean for us? Like, we're looking at the drought monitor right now, and it does show a little bit of red, or a lot of red down in the southern portion of the state. We got a little pocket of it just south of Atlanta. What does this mean for us? If that continues to grow, what happens?
Yeah, so unfortunately, this is not putting us in a good position heading into the winter. Our winter months, typically, we see our longer duration rainfall events. And so this is really priming us so that we're already falling behind and we're headed into a season, potentially this winter, where we're already framing a drier, warmer set of months, December through February. So this could really prime us to continue to set us behind where that rainfall just isn't going to come.
Yeah. If we get down to an exceptional drought, what does that change for those watching today? What happens?
Yeah, so during the winter months, it doesn't affect a lot of agriculture, but it could into the spring. It does start beginning to mean water restrictions. I know we're not going to be watering our grass per se during the winter months, but that does really keep us fairly dry. Our reservoirs aren't going to be able to fill back up through the winter. And so it really does put extra stress on the entire water system in Georgia. Our lakes, our rivers, our available water for landscaping, things like that.
There's some around here that may remember 2008, 2009 when we had all those restrictions. I'm not sure if you were here back then, but how does this compare where we're headed? We're hopefully nowhere near that, right?
We are nowhere near that. Unfortunately, reservoirs like Lake Lanier, for example, they're not in that D3 extreme drought area. We are expecting the drought to continue to worsen through the coming weeks without that meaningful rainfall. So we could see Lake Lanier start to be incorporated into those drought conditions. But at least for now, reservoirs are looking pretty good.
All right, you got to put your forecasting hat on. You said that we're entering into or now into these drier months, but do we see anything of significance coming down the pike?
So we've got a small chance of rain coming up on Tuesday. Right now, not a whole lot of meaningful rainfall amounts forecast with that. It is expected over the next about 2 weeks or so to be warm and dry. And so enjoy it while it's out there. I personally like to see the sun, but maybe we can get the rain coming back here soon.
I tend to think that you and I are the only ones that think about this when it comes to this nice weather. It's hard to say, hey, it's nice, but, so Laura, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Yep, you're welcome. Have a great day.
All right, take care. All right, don't go anywhere, folks. CNN's Maribel Aber joins us with How Your Money Matters coming up next. Welcome back to the show. Starbucks is bracing for a walkout on its Red Cup Day as union talks stall. CNN's Maribel Aber joins us now from the NASDAQ market site in New York. Good morning, Maribel.
Good morning, Chesley.
Yeah, Starbucks says they're ready for this.
Well, I'll tell you what's happening. Thousands of Starbucks workers are on strike just as the chain's holiday Red Cup Day kicks off. Baristas in dozens of cities plan to picket today, including some expected locations around Metro Atlanta. Union leaders say it could expand if a contract agreement isn't reached. The two parties haven't negotiated since talks fell apart late last year. Now, mediation in February failed to reach a bargaining agreement that union leaders would accept. Now, workers want better pay, benefits, and work policies. Starbucks says it already offers among the best wages in retail, $30 an hour on average, and also said it's ready to work in good faith with the union to resolve outstanding issues. Chesley.
Hopefully it comes together. Hopefully it comes together. All right, data centers are a big business right here in Metro Atlanta, but one AI startup is announcing a massive build out here in the United States.
Technology company Anthropic plans to invest $50 billion into its U.S. AI infrastructure. It's going to start with 2 data centers in New York and Texas, Chesley. The facilities will be designed to support Anthropic's fast-growing partnership with the cloud platform FluidStack. The centers are expected to open next year with more locations to follow, and the move positions Anthropic to better compete with rival OpenAI, which is on an aggressive AI build-out of its own. The ChatGPT maker has secured numerous long-term deals with companies like NVIDIA, Oracle, Microsoft, and Amazon. Industry analysts have become increasingly concerned about whether the U.S. has the power capacity to support such rapid AI growth. Chesley.
Yeah, we will see. All right, all over Atlanta, we're seeing plenty of Waymo cars on the city streets, but soon they're going to the highways?
Going to the highway, Waymo robo-taxis are going to hit the highway starting today. The driverless vehicles will begin adjusting routes to include higher speed roadways. A chief complaint among customers was longer trip times on secondary roads. They want the highway. The change starts in Phoenix, LA, and San Francisco today. It may expand soon. The company says it spent years testing its driver-free technology on public roads, closed courses, and in virtual simulations. The robo-taxis have cameras that engineers say give a 360-degree view up to 3 football fields away. Waymo estimates the upgrade will make trips up to 50% faster. Only users who have opted into the help test the robo-taxis features will be able to select a highway route. I know you've been seeing them, Chesley.
Oh, yeah.
Before you say you're not ready, we are in the future now. Remember the end of the Back to the Future? Doc Brown and Marty sitting in the DeLorean time machine, and the dashboard reads November 6, 2025. The future's here.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Hey, we're not I don't have any police officers around here, but we do love free donuts. Krispy Kreme, they say they're not sugarcoating it, or maybe they are. What's going on there?
It's World Kindness Day, and Krispy Kreme is offering a sweet deal to celebrate. Chesley, customers who buy a dozen donuts of any kind will get a free dozen of original glaze. So the chain recently added 9 new flavors to its everyday menu. They include maple iced, Oreo, New York cheesecake, fudge brownie, and Biscoff cookie buttercream. The company says it will rotate in 4 new flavors about 5 times a year to keep the menu fresh. Today's offer is good in store or through the mobile app using the code BOGOFREE. So be prepared to be popular today, Chesley. My doorman is going to be happy when I get home.
Means you got to go out and fight cops for donuts, you know? At least all the officers I know, they love donuts. That's why I'm saying that. Love police officers, no shade at all. Maribel, thank you. I understand that I'm going to call you now DJ Aber. I understand you every time. Well,
it's Mayor's Money Jams.
I said something about weather. You started playing music with weather. I appreciate that.
You got it. Right. You know, I'm inspired by you, Chesley. That's what's happening.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. All right, we'll see you again tomorrow. All right, folks, don't go anywhere. We'll be back right after this. You're watching The Take. "11Alive is partnering with the Salvation Army for the 43rd Canathon on Friday, December 5th. We'll be collecting donations at 5 locations around the metro area. Our goal is to collect enough canned goods or canned foods to stock the shelves of the Salvation Army 13 local food pantries for an entire year. Start collecting those cans right now and go to 11alive.com/canathon for most needed items and drop off locations. That'll be again on December 5th. We'll be out there live collecting those donations as well. Your forecast shows that, we're looking at our temperatures warming up into the 70s. Starting tomorrow, we'll be at 74 degrees on Saturday. Sunday, 75. That's about 10 degrees above where we should be for this time of year. And we'll stay in those 70s even as we head into next week. We need some rain, but the chances look very, very low. Only a 20% chance by Tuesday of next week. All right, time for my final take. And Pope Leo revealed his all-time favorite movies. But what does that say about him? Help me out here. All right, the Catholic bishop, whose real name is Robert Francis Provost, dished his all-time favorite movies during an interview that was released on Veterans Day. Here you go. First on his list was It's a Wonderful Life, the 1946 classic Christmas starring James Stewart. He tapped into his musical side on the next one. He gave a shout out to The Sound of Music, Oscar award-winning family drama fronted by actress and Broadway legend Julie Andrews. And last but not least, Ordinary People, the 1980 psychedelic drama starring Donald Sutherland and Mary Tyler Moore. That made the list too. So what does that say about the pontiff? Well, his last one on the list was Life is Beautiful. That's an Italian language period drama starring and directing Robert Benigni. Now, what does that say about him? Nothing. It says he's normal. He's just like us, right? He likes good movies and musicals as well. What's your all-time great? Send it to us. We love to feature it. Enjoy today.